Are we live? We are live. Good afternoon, everybody. JB here with a half hour's live chat. Apologies about my room. There's no light in it, so I'm having to use my mobile lighting. But I just want to say welcome along to the question and answer session. It's a privilege to be with you. Well, we wait until about 4 o'clock so New Caton could come home from school if he's there. We'll be getting through to the questions in a minute. I just want to say, first of all, before we start on the questions, and answering the questions, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that submitted questions. Trevor Sports, New Caton, Russ Vernon, Sue, amongst others. If you want to ask a question live, I'm on for about 35 minutes, so ask any question, but keep your questions clean and keep them sensible, please. Okay. You finish at 4. Oh, right, that's good, though. Well, we timed that well. Anyway, nice to have you all with us. Don't forget, later on, I'm back live. Voice only, though, audio only, for Spurs against Red Bull Leipzig in the Champions League. So I've got about half an hour's window, and then I've got to have something to eat and then prep for the match tonight, which I'm really looking forward to. It should be a great game and stuff. And well, we're talking about a little bit of of an history lesson on Red Bull Leipzig as well. But we'll go into that a little bit later on. Anyway, let's get to your questions. And I've got all the questions up there. Don't forget, if you you can't see the Spurs game, you're going to a show. Oh, but you'll be able to watch it, but you'll be able to listen to it back the next day. Don't you worry. You're watching City. Well, also Russ is going to be doing it. So we're going to do the comments as well. So I've got the questions up here. So if I can't see the comment section, I do apologise. But I'm going to, as I said, I thought we'll do this live because it's actually quite good. There's some nice questions in there, sports related, non-sports related. It's actually nice to see some non-sports related questions as well. So Sue's got quite a number of questions actually. She dominates the scene with a lot more. RV Media. Is Russ's. So we're going to start in chronological order. Russ sent the first 2 questions. So the first question from Russ Vernon, who's changed his channel to Russ RV Media. And he started doing audio commentary. So give him a try. If I'm not on, Russ will do matches for you. So don't forget to like his channel and subscribe. But he'll still be with us. Don't worry. He's not leaving. He's not left our channel. He's not left my channel. We're still having as part of our commentary team, just to, but so the first couple of questions will be, well, let's answer one or two. There's a few. You can ask any question you want. I will have to go to the others that are pre-booked. But where did Carrasco go after AFTV? He asks, what team do I support? I'm a Burnley fan. I'm born in the town. I was born, in fact, about half a mile from Turf Moor. Not to put a too fine a point on it. So I'm a Burnley fan. And it just so happens our roots in Burnley, and logic dictates you support your local team through thick and thin. And believe me, I've been supporting them for over 20 years, man and boy. And we've seen some rough times when we were in the old third tier, but we're tasting the champagne last start of the Premier League, and looks as if we're going to have a 5th consecutive season. New Caton asks, can we please see some rugby or cricket games? Yes, cricket's going to be coming up after the Euros are finished. We're going to be doing commentaries. We're going to be doing some commentaries on the new tournament, the new T20, obviously on the T20 Blast, but the new 100 tournament that's going to be hitting cricket grounds around the country next year. It's all a City franchise thing, and it's 100. It's basically 100 ball. It's 100 balls per side game. So it's a quite short. It's a shorter format than T20. Just a slightly shorter format than T20. We're going to be covering that this summer, and also we'll have the T20 Blast and of course some England T20 games. Can we see a commentary from Chelsea against Bayern Munich? I don't. To be quite honest with you, Nick, I don't know. People I mean, I'd like to do every game under the sun. Let me just make it clear: it's not possible. It's not physically possible for me to do every game under the sun. I have, as you well know, guys, I've got work commitments. In fact, so I have a day job, which means I have to miss out half the bigger games because it just seems to clash with work. One game I can guarantee we'll be doing 2 weeks today, 2 weeks on Sunday is the first domestic cup final of the season from Wembley, which I'm really looking forward to. And you have to do a lot of prepping for a cup final. We'll be doing Aston Villa against Manchester City in the Carabao final, which I'm looking forward to. So it'll be a Sunday afternoon, 1st of March, 4:30 kickoff. Will be on the air about 4:15 on the JB Clark YouTube channel as things stand. I think City will win that. Well, you don't know. It's a cup final. I've seen Birmingham City upset the odds before against a much bigger opponent than Arsenal, so you never know. I mean, that could be a good game, that one. But anyway, let's crack on with some of the questions that were asked about a week ago. I did ask you guys to send in your questions on the other video, so we're going to get the first question from Ross Vernon. How long does it take to do your preparation for commentaries for live games? Well, Ross, quite frankly, obviously I have to think about the commentary about a day or two in advance when I know I'm going to be doing it. Some games I'll do at the last second. Like, for example, Liverpool-Barcelona last year when the second leg, I decided at the 24th hour to do it, did a bit of prep, and it turned out to be one of the best commentaries I'd ever done in my career, in my 4 years of doing commentaries. Basically, when I know who's playing and the subs, write down write down the names on a sheet of paper, numbers, referees, VAR, etc., etc. A few stats and facts here and there, what positions they are in the league, or where they may be. If it's like a David versus Goliath Cup tie, and you've got a non-league team against the Premier League, you tell them what position they are, and especially if you're doing somebody like Moulton and Twickery, you want to know. People want to know about these things, so it depends. It all varies on what game you do. As I say, if it's a cup time between Moulton and Twickery and Manchester United, you have to do a bit more research on Moulton and Twickery than you would Manchester United, because I cover Manchester United nearly every other 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm very familiar with Manchester United. That's not to say that I don't take their preparation any more seriously than anybody else's. But what was your audience views? This is another Ross Redding question. What is the audience views for audio commentaries compared to FIFA videos? Well, FIFA videos I initially did when I got a PlayStation 4. As you all know, the backstory is 2016. We decided to go with audio commentaries. Nothing was happening for me on the channel. I'd had it about 4 or 5 years at that point, and I needed something to try and get my viewership up. And I was doing some windows and doors canvassing, earning a few quid, just keeping the wolves out the door, And so we started doing audio commentaries, and the first couple of years it was all right. The first game we actually did live was Preston against Burnley in the Championship. Again, game where Burnley won. Then we did the next one against QPR when they got promoted. So they were the first 2 ever games that we did live on the YouTube channel, which was quite good. But for the last 2 or 3 years, since the World Cup, I think the listening figures for our commentaries have really shot up, and it's been down to you guys subbing and getting the word out to people, and so it's down to you guys really why the commentaries have become a success. It's not just about me. Also, we've had a variety of voices. We've had Russ, we've had Chris Whiteman commentating as well. Hopefully, a few others will join the commentary team for the European Championships. It'll be our second one that we covered this year, and I'm really looking forward to that. And hopefully describe an England victory in the final. That would be my dream this year, above all else. Right, let's have a look at Best commentary I've ever done, excluding Burnley and England. Oh, that narrows it down a bit. I think there's a couple that stand out. The Liverpool Barcelona second leg. I don't think we'll ever see a comeback like that ever again. And of course, the game at Molineux at Christmas when Wolves and Manchester City had everything you want from a commentary: red cards, controversy, talking points still lot, and a last-minute winning goal. So those are the two games that stand out for me. Also, the first Saturday of the World Cup when me and Chris, this weekend of the last World Cup when me and Chris did 3 games apiece over the weekend, and we seen some shots like Messi missing a penalty, 2 missed penalties, Germany losing, Brazil only drawing, Argentina only drawing, and France winning on a goal line technology goal. Those are the games that really stick out in my memory. But there's a lot to choose from 4 years of commentaries, though, I must say. Sue then asked, I've seen on your other videos how you physically prepare for a commentary. How do you make notes and research the teams and referees and things like that? I'd like to know how you get into the zone. How do you personally get into the zone? Good question, Sue, actually. Basically, I did a bit of hypnotherapy with my friend, Nico, many years ago, and I imagine a garden bench and just get into the zone for that and just get into it, and just the adrenaline buzzes, I suppose. And I just enjoy it. It's just something that just comes naturally to me, I suppose. I've been doing it now for just over under 4 years. 4 years this April, and it's just something that comes naturally to me. I mean, I could speak, as I said. Now I'm in the zone. Now speaking to the camera and speaking to you guys out there. It's nice to be able to do that. Let's have a look at a few live ones before we go back to the other ones, because there's a few questions that I've just darted in. Just bear with me a second. There we are. Let's get the arrow off there. When you're finished with commentary, New Caton asks, what will you do next on this channel? Do you know what? I don't know. Is the honest answer to that question, because at the moment I'm enjoying the ride with what I've got. I'd probably keep putting videos up. It all depends. It all depends, really, on how the channel goes from there on in, and that. But we'll just have to see. Educated on that one, but it's very hard to predict the future at this moment in time. Absolutely Anonymous asks, if you could change anything about the current media coverage of football, what would it be? Punditry. I think there's too many pundits. Radio commentary on mainstream radio, I think, needs to be a lot more descriptive than what it is. There's too much chitter chat. There's too much idle chit chat going on between games, as opposed to where the action is. And this is why my commentaries stand out from theirs, because I'm on my own. Russ is on his own. Chris does his game. So will commentary. People need to know these things: where the ball is on the field, what side of the field it's on. Is it near whereabouts the ball is, as in regards to how many yards from goal, how many yards from the edge of the D, and that sort of thing. And those things need to be, I think, mainstream broadcasters need to drum that into their radio commentators, and that. And I think then, it just sounds like when you listen to Five Live, for example, there's too much chitter chatter with Robbie Savage and the like, and not enough proper commentary of the game. The listener needs to know where the ball is. The commentators are there on radio to paint the picture. And again, the same applies on television. Again, too much punditry, too much talk. Sometimes in television, silence is golden. What age did I start supporting Burnley? Pretty young, mid-teens, before I absolutely started following them on a serious level. I got my first season ticket as a 16, 17-year-old youngster. Watched them. And then started watching them regularly from there on in. And of course, my attendance of games at the Turf has dwindled a little bit since doing work with other commitments, work and such forth. And of course, the price of tickets is very, very expensive. But in those days, first, I used to go to the Turf regularly from 16, 17 to about 32, 33, because the ticket prices were really good value. And it was always good, the thrill of seeing the game. I've seen so many great players live. You wouldn't believe it. I've seen Steven Gerrard live. I've seen John Terry and Frank Lampard live. I've seen a lot of them. I've seen a lot of the big names down at the Turf over the years. So yeah, what would be your dream signing for Burnley? To be honest with you, I mean, at the current, I'd like. I think I'd like to see Messi or Ronaldo play for Burnley. That would be nice. But I'd also like Virgil van Dijk as well. I think he'd give that Burnley defence a kick up the backside. It sometimes needs. Get rid of Ben Mee, put Virgil van Dijk in. So I think if you were looking for a player at the moment, I'd say defensively, I think Virgil van Dijk. Attacking wise, probably Messi or Ronaldo. Even though they're knocking on a bit, they're still very much the best in the business as things currently stand. Right. Anyway, I'm going to get on with one or two of Sue's questions because there's quite a number of questions. I'll try and get through as much of them as I can. As well, and we'll come back to some of our questions a little bit later on. This is a non-football one. These are like two questions in one. These, so I'm just going to up that a bit. Yeah. I'd also like to ask Sue asks, what do you dream? Many people ask me in the past, what do you dream? I tell them that many dreams, apart from having surreal plots, I like real life. I can feel things and hear things, but I don't see things in a dream. The next question leading on from that, have you had any surreal dreams involving football commentaries? I'm talking nice dreams. For example, I've had dreams where I'm performing and the mic's a strange shape or the keyboard's at a vertical angle rather than horizontal. To be honest with you, Sue, no, I haven't. I don't really dream about football commentary or anything like that. I mean, what I dream, I try and keep as private as possible. But I can't say it in front of youngsters and stuff like that. What I dream is my business and no one else's. But it's quite a good. It's quite a good question, but it's something I would probably find very difficult to answer, if I'm being honest, Sue. But it's a good question nonetheless. But it's one that would stump me really. Do you remember the first PC? What was it like? I can just about remember it. I think it was I don't know what it was. I was 16 when I got it. I can't remember the name of it. What I do remember about it is we used to play football. We used to play what was then called Championship Manager, now Football Manager on it. Championship Manager. And my brother and I used to play for hours and hours on end, and the amount of falling out when we were trying to transfer players to different sides was astronomical. But great days they were. Also, I played Premier Manager 98 on the PC there, and used to get seasons done in about 5 minutes flat. It was just great fun, great days. And also, I can also remember the modem. I mean, having our first modem and listening to the chimes as it coughed up into life. Those were the days, Sue. Those were the days. And she also says, how important is the use of figurative language in terms of smiles and metaphors you come to, and when would you use them? I couldn't possibly answer that, I'm afraid, Sue. Neil could have answered the next question. How important is dictation in football commentary? I don't know if that's the case. We'll come back to those in a second. I think there's been one or two happenings on the comment section. I'm sorry, Trump, my joy. You don't. I'm sorry. Comments I've deleted. If you've got 6 rumors on at the moment, and we don't do that. What a stupid question this is. Mike Perry, do you still have your turkey racing equipment for sale? What? That's some decent. I'm sorry, Mike. You're going to have to be. That's not the sort of question I was hoping to see. That's getting removed, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, but that's no problem. Have a good evening, Newgate, and have a good night. JB, that's been a good question. This one. What was your first Burnley Gillingham game at the beautiful Turf Moor? Burnley Gillingham. That would have been probably 2000, 2001 season. I had a season ticket, my first ever season ticket. So it would have been about 2000, 2001 season. And I think we drew 1-1 with you, if my memory serves me correct. So there we are. Please, please, please. I cannot stress enough. Before we carry on, we are a family channel, right? I appeal to young people, old people, middle-aged people, all races, all creeds, all sexes. Please, 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 Trump my joy, Mike Perry. No more. You'll not be appearing on this channel ever, ever again. We have anyone up to 6 moderators at any live stream. So please, please keep your comments clean. Is it serious, Mike? Because you know, we want to be squeaky clean on this channel now. You know, we are. You know, it's not the. You know, we're not. This is long before the watershed, mate. You know, and I do have a reputation to uphold. Okay. Right. I'll just wait for that question then. Yeah, but please, honestly, keep your comments clean because you know. Anyway, Panini's got one. What's your favourite football management game ever? I'd say probably Football Manager or Championship Manager, because that's a real test of your Premier Manager is great, but it goes a bit too quickly. With Football Manager, it's like realism. So you know, it's an endurance game, isn't it? Endurance in football management. So you can play it. You know, you could take an hour to play 2 or 3 games, but then you've got to work out your tactics and your strategies and all that sort of thing. And sometimes these things have to take time, and that's what's good. It's an endurance game as well. I'm not going to answer that one, Mike. I'm afraid it's not really my. Listen, mate, it's not really my bag, if I'm being honest. I said serious questions anyway. Absolutely anonymous. Favorite ever Burnley player? You see, that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one, I have to say. I'll say probably, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to go for Robbie Blake because he was Mr. Burnley and he scored that winning goal against Manchester United. Sorry about that, absolutely nonetheless. So I'll probably go for Robbie Blake, but there was quite a number of others I could have pushed in the likes of Tom Heaton and people like that. Joey Barton, of course. Do you think Liverpool will be unbeatable this season? Well, they lost last night in the Champions League. I think in the league terms, I don't know who can stop them. Quite honestly, they've had a really good run, and you know, Burnley have got to go there later on in the season. Hopefully, with our fate obviously sealed and our Premier League status sealed for next season, I think that's, you know, there'll be no pressure on that. But I don't know. I think they could do it. The only tough test they'll have, I think, until the end of the season, realistically, will be Manchester City. I think that could be a little bit of a stumbling block. But I can't see them losing the league now. But I can certainly. I don't know if whether or not they'll go unbeaten. That's a different matter entirely. But I certainly do think, Newgate, that they will win the league and they will win it by streets. There's no doubt about that. Which southern ground have you ever visited? The most southernest ground I think I've ever visited is Birmingham City, St Andrews, when I was about 17, 18. We lost 3-2 in a championship match to Birmingham. But it was a good game, you know. enjoyed it. And the best ground I think I've ever been to is Villa Park for atmosphere. So I've been to both grounds in the second city. So that's probably the two most southernest football grounds I think I've ever gone to, which is quite nice. Anyway, so we'll carry on with the questions that were asked. We've been going for about 25 minutes. I thought we were going to be half an hour, but it turns out it could be a bit longer than this. I'll come back to that one, Panini, in a minute. Here's another one from Sue. She's dominated the questions this one, hasn't she? But she has a lot to ask, so that's okay. Have a good time, New Caton. All right, mate. See you later. Sue asks, you have a worldwide audience, so how important is it in football commentary to achieve the correct language register, the balance of formal and informal language? Also, what language registers do football commentators tend to avoid? Maybe try doing a piece of commentary purely using slang. Do it perhaps as an example of a no-no in football commentary. Mike Grant's quite sound funny too. All the things I'm saying here, just as suggestions. I don't want you stuck scrabbling around for ideas in the video. That I might have to do another time, actually, Sue. Obviously, we're live, so it would be, but it's something I'd try in the future, and do that. And that's certainly an idea for future video. So that's a good idea, Sue. I think that could work a little bit later in the future once a spare couple of days to myself. But certainly a question there to test my mind, and I'll certainly look at doing that as a standalone video. Sue asks again, on the BBC Tech chat in the BBC Teach channels, there's 2 episodes about how to be a football commentator. In one episode, Radio 5's John Murray commentates on the presenter making a cup of tea. In another, one of the kids' commentaries on someone preparing a scone. If you were to commentate on someone preparing food, what would it sound like? It would sound like, as far as that, my friend, say, for example, I went to see a friend of mine called Karen, and I went around to her house and I started commentating. For example, like, say she's making a cup of tea. Okay. How would I say it? I would say it probably like this. And here comes Karen. She comes up to the kettle, switches the kettle on, puts the tea bag in, puts the sugar in, waits for the kettle to boil, and there's the whistle from the kettle. Now the kettle is boiled. Now she pours the cup of tea into the old cup, and then she gives it a little stir, takes the tea bag out, puts the milk in, stirs it, and there he goes. John Moy gets a nice fresh cup of tea. There we go. That's probably how I'd do it in layman's terms. There we go. Okay, right. That's that question answered. How important is the volume, pitch, and pace of your voice during commentary? Give us some examples how volume, pitch, and pace are used in football commentaries. Maybe deliberately pick a dramatic moment and do it without any enthusiasm. And I don't think you can recreate it. I think when you do a live commentary, Sue, it depends. I mean, for example, when you for example, the Wolves Man City game, that was the game where it was just so fast paced, and it was so dramatic. Then the voice tended to go high. For example, and of course, Wolves Leicester, it was not a great game, so I didn't have the enthusiasm of that other game. It all depends on the game and what mode it is and how well the game's going. Sometimes you got a dull 0-0 and you think, and you use so many statistics just to keep everyone entertained. It's like for Wolves Brighton last season, it was dramatic, but it was a sort of boring dramatic, really. It was a boring game. Wolves were asking a lot of questions, but Brighton were just, but if the flow of the game's good, your flow of the commentary is going to be at least 90% better. But I would try that in the future, though, Sue, as a standalone video, what you've just mentioned there. Can you remember the first album I ever heard as a child? Well, my late dad was country and western fan, so Dolly Parton would have been the first album I was a big Dolly Parton fan, in fact. So it would have been Dolly Parton. I remember Jolene blazing across the record player. Yes, when I was a kid, record players were still in fashion. That shows how old I am. I'm 37 this month, as it happens. What's your favourite genre of music? Do you have one, or is your taste quite electric? I have a varied taste, Sue. Mainly 60s, 70s, and 80s, mainly. Mostly rock. Sometimes 70s and 80s disco as well. A few cheesy songs as well. I don't mind a bit of Oasis from the 90s as well. But today's music, I wouldn't know anyone from Adam. So don't ask me about today's music because I ain't got the foggies. I ain't got a Scooby-Doo about that. Sorry to all the younger people that might be thinking, what an old fogey he is talking here. But I seriously, my knowledge of popular music ends at 2003, I'm afraid. But I do have various tastes. But 60s, 70s, and 80s usually. Most genres. I'm not like Inspector Morse. I don't really go for opera music that much. I can't understand what they're singing, and that's no disrespect to the people that sing, the soprano people. But there you go. That's the way it goes. So, but that's my favourite genre of music. Do you feel that football commentators' styles have changed over the years? If so, how? As I said earlier in the video, too much talk, too much general chit chat. Practically, it's all about the punditry now, and that's not how it should be in a radio commentary or even a television commentary. As I said earlier, television commentary, sometimes silence can be golden because people can see what's happening. As in radio, you need to be a bit descriptive, as you well know, Sue. What's the best place you've been abroad, Sasku, and what do you enjoy most about it? One or two good places I've been to abroad. Paris, I would probably just go over Brussels. I've been to Paris and Brussels. I'd probably go Paris just because of the Eiffel Tower. I mean, you go to the Eiffel Tower. I mean, Brussels was brilliant. Bruges was fantastic. And I went to a nice little place called Le Touquet, northern France, which is a nice little seaside town, which is very quaint and good nightlife. No, it has to be Paris for me because you've got Disneyland. You've also got the Eiffel Tower. And I must admit, I walked under the Eiffel Tower. I've never been up it. You'd have to have paid a pretty penny to go up the tower. But I walked up it. I walked under it, and I tell you what, it takes one's breath away. So really, really nice big structure. That is for sure. Certainly a nice place and a pleasure to visit. Do you have any pets? I don't have any pets. I did have a dog until a couple of years ago. Sadly, she died of old age. But he had a nice personality, a very loving personality, did my dog at the time. But she's sadly no longer with us, but she's still there in spirit as well. But no pets at the moment, I'm afraid. So at the moment, just the rawness of losing my dog a couple of years ago, still there. What do you think of spicy food, and what do you think of ice cream? I like Indian. Nothing too spicy, nothing too hot. If I'm going to have a curry, I'd like it mild because that's me playing safe. As regards ice cream, I love any kind of ice cream. It doesn't matter if it's vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, chocolate chip, whatever flavour they have, I'll try it. Fudge is good as well. I like fudge ice cream with the fudge pieces in it. I do like all kinds of ice creams, from the ones you buy in a supermarket to mass produced, shall we say, to homemade ice creams. Homemade ice creams are actually quite nice as well. Right, here's a good question. Trevor Sports is asked a couple of questions, and this is going back to who would you rather live with in terms of sports presenters, Desmond Lynam or Dickie Davis? That is actually the toughest question of the lot, actually, Trev. I'd actually like to live with both of them because I think both of them have got really good tales to tell. You've got Dickie Davis, who did World of Sport, and he probably had great tales about the great Eric Morecambe, who once appeared as a guest on his show and made him quartz with laughter. I'm sure he'd have a lot of stories to tell. Des, if you've got Audible, you can download Des Lynam's autobiography, and I have to say it's a good listen. So that's something I'd recommend you get on Audible. It's a really good listen. Well worth the 2 hours listen. And I didn't know he was an insurance salesman before he went into television. Before he started presenting Grandstand and all that lot. But I'd love. I like bosses. I think Des is Des. He's a legend, isn't he? He's a living legend. So is Dickie. But Des, of course, I mean, iconic, isn't he? Grandstand, Match of the Day, Countdown. He's done it all. Dickie Davis, known for world of sport. Bit before my time, but I remember him doing snooker. Good snooker presenter. But I'm sure they both have great anecdotes to tell people and great stories on the way. Certainly Des and Dickie, of course, with his connections. In fact, him and Eric Moulton were great friends, I believe. So I'm told. And here's a good one from Trevor as well. He says, "What and your top favourite sports broadcasters, commentators of all time, excluding me?" Yes, of course, Trevor Lynam. He's the best. With the exclusion of Trevor Lynam, hi Trevor, if you're watching. Brian Moore was probably my favourite football commentator. I mean, Motti and Barry Davis were great, but Brian Moore was a proper football commentator. You know, he's like he was like a fan. He was a fan with a microphone in his mouth, and he made the dullest game sound like the best game. And I grew up listening to Morrow, a great commentator. Sadly missed in this day and age. Sadly died of illness in 2001. Very much missed by the football community. We could do with a commentator like him in this day and age to make commentary more watchable again. Murray Walker, Formula One. David Coleman, athletics. Of course, you can't get two better commentators in sports like that. And of course, Peter O'Sullivan. You know, I grew up watching racing on TV, and Peter O'Sullivan was the man for the big races, the Grand National. When you watched the Grand National, it was his commentary that was synonymous with that great race. And his voice is sorely missed. He's obviously sadly no longer with us. But Sir Peter O'Sullivan was Mr. Racing. None of the commentators could hold a torch to him. And I've watched a clip of Red Romsford Grand National win in 1977, and he captured the moment beautifully with his commentary. With the cheers of the crowd, you never heard like it like Liverpool, and he just said in 4 or 5 words, "Red Rum wins the National." That's all that needed to be said. So Peter O'Sullivan is another good one, and two cracking boxing commentators of their generation on opposite sides. Harry Carpenter could be a little bit biased towards the British. The only criticism I have of Harry Carpenter is he could be a bit biased towards certain boxers like Henry Cooper and Frank Burrell. But I think Reg Gutteridge was better than him, because Reg Gutteridge was a complete one-off, a boxing man from a boxing family, and he was strictly neutral. It doesn't matter if a Brit was fighting, he would call it as he saw it. Doesn't matter if there was British representation, he would call it as a neutral. Forget the fact that the fighters were British. He did a lot with the American fights as well. You know, your Sugar Ray Leonards and your Roberto Durans and Tyson. He did a lot of Mike Tyson fights and things like that. And he did Eubank Ben, did the 2 Eubank Ben fights. And he had Jim Watt alongside him. They were the best double act commentary team in boxing, or in any sport for that matter. So Reg Gutteridge, for me, was the best boxing commentator of all time. But those are my favourite commentators and broadcasters. And of course, there's Des. Jim Rosenthal, I think, is a great presenter. Getting on a bit, but I still think he should be on mainstream television and not Amazon Prime. I think he's wasted. He's wasted on there. And there's so many great broadcasters out there. They're not as good as they used to be, I have to say. David Cobham, I don't think there'll be anyone like it on the Athletics. So, yeah, I think, a nice little blend there of good commentators that I grew up listening and actually loving, quite frankly. But it's like inviting them into your own home, really. Let's have a look at 1 or 2 live questions that have come up. Padini said, "Did you find St Andrews a bit scary?" I did a bit. I will admit after the game. Um, do you lay in bed before the game and work out the match in your head? I don't actually. I don't really think about things like that in bed because I'm out the zone. When I'm away from the microphone or away from work, I'm just a normal lad. I'm a normal guy, really, Panini. I'm just the normal John boy that everyone knows and loves. All my friends know and love. And when I'm not on mic, I'm usually out and about chatting with people about other things. I don't think of football 24 hours a day. It's not a seven. It's not a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jolly with me, football. It's when I'm. It's when I've got the capacity to do the commentary. That's when I start thinking about it. Probably about an hour before the game, I start thinking about the game, and then getting to the zone from there on in. The worst game I've ever commentated on was Southport against Fleetwood, boring for 90 minutes. What was your game? That's a difficult question, Panini, because I haven't had too many of these over the last sort of 18 months. I would probably say Friday, and I'd probably say the two knots we've had this season, they weren't classics. And I'd also say Wolves Brighton last season, so probably three of them. But as I say, very difficult to choose when most of your games that you picked this season have been thrilling games from start to finish. And I think that's probably about it. I'll look at your video in a moment, Luke Caton. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions, sensible questions like Panini and Luke Caton Live and Absolutely Anonymous. They all sent in live questions. I'm not going to give anyone who sent silly questions the time of the day because they're not worth it. Also, my biggest thanks to Sue and to Russ and to Trevor Sports for their contributions as well in the lead up to the video. And I hope you've all enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you have missed it live, you can watch back. There's no problem with that. Don't forget to join me at 7:50 tonight for live commentary of Tottenham versus Red Bull Leipzig in the Champions League. I'm off to have something to eat and then start prepping for that game once the teams are announced around about 7 o'clock. So I've got an hour's break and then I'm going to have something to eat and then prep for the game. So hope to see you all soon for that. In the meantime, for me, JB, have a fantastic evening and I'll see you all at 7:50. Take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you all a little later. Take care. Bye-bye.